Welcome back, guys. We are
Welcome.
back, guys. We are back.
So we are back and we are here to talk about the Clairs today and how we
Yeah.
receive them, which Clair is what, things like that, and like our little experiences with each Clair, and just bring a little bit more awareness to exactly how the Clairs work and how we work with the Clairs, how spirit works with the Clairs, things like that.
Yep. Sounds good. So I actually have all the Clairs here. We're going to go through one by one. So the first one that we have, and this one is usually, this was the first Clair that opened for me, but I'm going to have Alyssa kick this off and see how she actually uses this. But this is going to be one of the ones that a lot of clairvoyants use and mediums, but clairvoyance is one of the main clairs that I know I use. How do you use it, Alyssa?
Which one's clairvoyance again?
The clear seeing.
I always forget them. Okay, you cannot depend on me to remember things.
You're like, I just use them daily.
Yeah, they just kind of come to me. I'm like, okay, I just say clear seeing, clear knowing.
Yes, that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Clear
So
seeing.
clear seeing. With seeing for me, I think it did kind of come in sort of first. But I think for me it was the feeling and the knowing that really came in for me first. But it was like the three of them kind of joined together in my first official reading. It was really, really weird. It was almost like the way we naturally think, I think.
Right.
Like
Yep.
it comes in just so natural, like that it's very easy to talk yourself out of it and be like, oh no, like this is just my brain. It's so easy. It's that really, really fine line between that.
Yes. Yep. Definitely. And like for me, clairvoyance was the only one that I had at the beginning. So when I first started, when I only knew because when I would do meditations just to learn how to meditate and like calm the mind and kind of like, get into the spiritual journey, I would always see things in the entire meditation. Like if they'd be talking about, put yourself in this place, I could see it clearly. And then it was weird though, because I would see something in my meditation before she even said it. So I was like, what? I don't know what that means, but it was just really wild that like it just came in so clear and so fast, like you said. But it was only clairvoyance for me for probably like the first year. Like I only got, when I did mediumship readings, I would only see things, core memories. I would actually see the point of view from the person that had passed and like watch them doing things like washing dishes, but looking out a window. And I could see things out this window that I would tell the person. They'd be like, yeah, that's my grandma. Like she used to always stand, you know, at the window where the dishes were, and she'd be washing dishes and like watching over the kids outside. So I would see things like that, or kind of like we see in readings whenever somebody's wanting to talk about a military background, I'll see a purple heart in my head, or I'll see like an urn if somebody was cremated. Like they give me different symbols depending on whatever they're wanting to show me and bring up next. But it was always the clear seeing, the clairvoyance that kicked off my readings from the very get go. And so it's funny because I thought that was everybody until I took another mediumship class, the one before, the one with Brooke, and nobody in there was clairvoyant. I was the only clairvoyant one in there. Everybody else, like you, started off with clairsentience, which is like the clear feeling, the claircognizance, clear knowing. So I didn't realize that that's not like a normal thing. I thought all psychics and mediums started out with clairvoyance. So I've learned along the way that that's not really how it is. That's just like my journey. You know what I mean? So definitely different for everybody. But I did a little quick in one of my TikTok lives the other night. I did a little clairvoyance practice with everybody, and I told them, I was like, a lot of us are clairvoyant without even thinking about it. I said, so just close your eyes, and if I tell you, I'm going to give you something to think about, and I want you to tell me like what you see. And so I told them, I said, if I told you to close your eyes and think about an apple, what do you see? And a lot of people were like, a red apple or a red, you know what I mean? And some were like, it's a green apple. And I'm like, well, that is spirit giving you, you know what I mean? Kind of like if somebody gave you a green apple instead of a red apple in a reading, then you would know that this person liked the sour stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. You know what I mean?
You froze for a second
You did
right after you
too.
said sour stuff.
Yes. So basically just depending on what you see, that's the clairvoyant side of it. If you can picture something in your mind without actually having to physically look at it, that's clairvoyance. You know what I mean? And so I would
Mm-hmm.
explain to them that that's kind of how I see it. And we did like a little practice in there. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, I saw a red apple. I saw a red apple. But somebody said I saw a green one. And I was like, so if that happened for me, I would know that this person's trying to tell me in spirit that they like the sour stuff, the sour
Hmm.
side of things, not just the regular red apples, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
did a little practice, but it comes in different for everybody. So it was interesting to see kind of what people got, what they saw. And some people were like, I don't see anything. And I was like, okay, well then you would know that that's just not going to be like your main Clair if you were trying to open up your Clairs. You know what I mean?
I think like for my clear seeing, again, like they'll show me images and things like that. It's so many different things because I say this all the time. Spirit communicates in so many different ways. Like one
Exactly.
spirit might show it to me, whereas another spirit will make me feel it or just make me read.
Right. Exactly.
So it's so different, the way that each spirit communicates. And sometimes they give me just the image, and that irritates me because I'm like, can you give me a feeling with it? Can you give me a knowing with it? Can you give me something with it? No, just the image. One time I got jelly beans. All this showed me was jelly beans, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with jelly beans?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I know. And that's like I said, I think that's why I struggled a little bit at the beginning because it was just images. There was no
Mm-hmm.
feelings, there was no heartfelt messages. It was just seeing something. And it always made sense. They were able to validate it, but I was just like, okay, like what else? But as we learned, they do tend to make you kind of focus on one Clair at a time until you've really got it down before
Mm-hmm.
they let you open something else up sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do like that. But yeah, that was definitely my strongest one. And that's just kind of, it's still a big part of it. But now, of course, it's switched to like the clairsentience part of it. And that's become huge in my readings where I couldn't pick up on anything like that before at all. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just really weird how it works for each of us. But yeah, like that's kind of how the clairvoyance part works for me. All right. So next is going to be Clair empathy. So I think we can talk about like Clair empathy with Clair sentience because those are both going to be like Clair feeling. And you're
Mm-hmm.
real big on that. So you can go into kind of how you get those feelings and what it feels like for you whenever you're getting like feelings from the other side.
Usually they pair it with like an image. For me, they'll put them together, but sometimes they'll give me the feeling of confusion. Confusion is a big one for me, especially when it comes to passings.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give me a lot of confusion, and just feeling like, whoa, like what's going on, like a little bit disoriented, a little bit confusion. And normally, like 9 times out of 10, this is with either they were feeling this at the time of passing or people
Mm-hmm.
were confused as to where they were or what was going on with them and what happened, things like that. That
Gotcha.
is just one thing. And I'll naturally kind of like feel it, the confusion, because they'll make me feel a little bit of that disoriented feeling. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And with the feelings, usually, again, they pair it with an image. They'll show me like an ocean as an image, and then they'll give me the feeling of peace, which is
Gotcha.
usually my sign for, okay, they feel really connected to the ocean. They feel like it brings them peace. And usually, they always say you can always go to the ocean to feel connected to me.
There you
You know what
go.
I mean? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. That makes total sense. So for me, I wish I got that with like two things at once, but I don't. It's always one thing or the other. So, like I said, for the longest time, honestly, I'm going to be honest, for all these years, clairsentience was not a thing for me. I would not get like I would get feelings of how they would pass.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my chest would hurt if it was a heart attack or a lung issue where my lungs were filling up with fluid or something, pain in the head if it was something like traumatic to the head area. So, I would get little bits and pieces of feelings of like how they passed, but I wouldn't hear anything with it. I wouldn't see anything with it. It was just the pure feeling of what happened. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, I would ask, like, what happened to you? And sometimes they won't talk to me about it at all,
Yeah.
especially if it is a very traumatic passing. But that's
Yeah.
how my clairsentience kind of started off. And then it was like once I started doing this a couple months ago and actually like really diving into it and doing several readings a day, anywhere from 5 to 10, however many, I noticed that I started getting those feelings of, this is how I feel about this person. Like, not just the proud, but like this person's really come a long way. Or this person had a lot of, traumatic things happening when they were growing up. This person this or that. But it was always like I was actually starting to kind of feel not only how this person felt about, the sitter, but also um, like how the sitter was feeling, you know? So sometimes they would talk about like, they would give me the chest, like the heart racing. And I knew that there was some type of anxiety, and it would be this person that I
Mhm.
was talking to. They're the ones that are like having severe anxiety attacks or having a lot of stress, whatever it was. And so that's kind of how I started feeling into the clairsentience part of it. And of course, clear empathy, I think, is just, you know, kind of our empathy being added into their empathy for this person, or just like the emotional side of doing readings for people and being able to connect with them and give a clear message, but also have that heartfelt, you know, we have to be able to tune in with them and be able to kind of feel like what they went through, you know? And
Yeah.
so I feel like that kind of goes together. But yeah, for sure, forever, clairsentience was not a clair for me. And now I feel like it has taken over so much that some of my readings, I hardly get any images. It's just straight feelings of, you're doing a good job, you need to keep doing this, stay away from this. You know, it's all of the mom energy coming in from a mom or a grandma or grandpa of telling them what they need to be doing, what they're proud of, what they are interested in. Keep doing this, don't do that type of thing. But it's all the feeling side of it instead of like actual, just nothing but images. So
Yeah.
I really like that, but I'm also not used to it because that's like, I don't have any way to validate, except of course the sitter understands and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm like, where's my pictures? You know, like, you know, so I'm glad that like yours comes with something else, because mine, it's one or the other. You know, I'm either seeing
Yeah.
things, hearing things, or feeling them. And normally now, like, I'll have a whole reading that's nothing but clairsentience, and I'm just feeling how this person, and like the messages that need to be given, if that makes sense. So it's wild how that works, you know?
It is wild. It's crazy when you think about how everyone's journey is different. And again, like we always say this all the time, everyone reads differently, everyone receives information differently. But it's so beautiful. It's just crazy how it works that way.
For all of us. But we, even like when we read together, we get a lot of the same things. Like I'll be already feeling something when you mention it, or I'll mention something, you're like, yeah, I was getting that too, but we both either heard it or saw it or felt it differently.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But spirit's
Yeah.
definitely giving us all the things. It just depends on the medium as far as what they're going to feel or see, hear, you know, depending on the actual spirit. But it's very interesting. But I'm really happy because that was something that, like, whenever I went to Brooks' class, that was the whole reason I enrolled in that class, is because I was like, I need help with my clairsentience. Like, I have no clairsentience. I don't understand why. I don't know how to open this up. And then it was like, as soon as I started doing the TikTok readings, before we ever really got down and dirty in the class, you know what I mean? It was like,
Hmm.
it took off just out of nowhere. Like, it opened up. So I don't know if like spirit was like, we need to go ahead and get her ready for this class, or what was going on. But next thing you know, it came in loud and clear, and the feelings were, they're always valid, you know. But I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know, because I'd never had that before. I didn't know how to like perceive it when it came through, like what it was going to be like. Now it's easy, but it did take me a
Hmm.
couple months to kind of harness that part of it too, because I had not been getting those type of things at all. So
Yeah. They
super.
love playing with our clairs. They really do.
Yes,
They love playing with
they
them. They
do.
love adding in, and
Taking
it's just so
away.
crazy. Yeah, taking away. Right now they're adding in the taste with me, and I'm still like,
Yes,
okay, because they're making me hungry. Let's stop. And then
exactly.
one even gave me the taste of chocolate, and I hate chocolate. And I'm like, really? You had to do
You
that to
hate
me?
chocolate?
I hate chocolate.
Oh my gosh. You're like, nope, don't like that. They're like, that's my favorite. So they just keep giving to over and over and
Yeah,
over.
I'm like, really? You couldn't give me the vanilla?
That is so funny. So let's go to that next, since we're already kind of talking about it. So
Mm,
that's Claire Gustance,
mm.
is the tasting whenever we're doing mediumship. So chocolate, what else have you got?
I've gotten Skittles, I've gotten cake, I've gotten potato salad, I've gotten so many things, I want to say in the past like month maybe.
Really?
They've really
So that
started
one's
to.
opening up a lot for you. And see, for me, I feel like I have only tasted a couple of things. For whatever reason, like for me, I will taste like alcohol. Like if somebody had like a drinking problem or something like that, or if alcohol was a big thing, like I can definitely taste alcohol. I can taste spicy stuff like cinnamon, like candy, things like that. But otherwise, I don't get a whole lot of that. But we've talked about this in all my lives, and people make fun of me because I have literally the palate of a 5-year old. I don't like anything. I'm
Mm,
super picky. So they don't have a lot to work with when it comes to like tasting stuff. So I don't get a whole lot of Claire Gustin stuff because I don't like anything. So half the stuff that they're probably trying to give to me, I'm just not getting because I don't I don't eat anything. So again, we've talked about this where it has to be something in our data bank, in our reference
Yeah.
bank. And if I can't go with that, then they'll show me. That's when my clairvoyance will kick in and they'll show me muffins because I'm not going to taste it, you know. And I do like muffins. I'm just saying sometimes they'll know which kind of Clair to go with because this other one's not going to make sense. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's wild,
exactly.
super
Exactly.
wild.
It is crazy. It's crazy. It's just it still blows my mind to this day. It really does blow my mind.
Literally, literally. And like I said, I wish that, I would get more taste, but I do get a lot of smells. So we will go to smells next and you let me know. So that's going to be Claire Aliens is for the clear smelling, which is
Mhm.
weird. That's not clear smelling. So let me know how you get any smells?
I get them sometimes. Sometimes I'll smell like cologne, or I'll smell
Mm-hmm.
cigarettes, or I'll smell coffee. Like it depends, but I would say that that's probably the one that they use the least for me
Okay.
is
Same,
that. Yeah.
same. I will get, I'll definitely get the smell of soap for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Like with older men, when they're like, this is how I smell. And it'll be like the smell of like Irish Spring soap. Like they're not somebody who
Mm-hmm.
would wear cologne, but I can definitely smell like the soap because that's how my grandpa was. He wasn't a
Hmm.
big cologne wearer, but he would wear, or he always, bathed and showered with Irish Spring. So anytime that like he would get out of the shower or whatever and he'd come out, you could just smell like that clean Irish Spring smell. And so some of
Hmm.
the older men will give me that smell and be like, they're smelling me and they're smelling the smell, or this is like what I used to smell like. Cologne, like you said, for the younger guys, they'll give me like different scents of cologne. And then for the older women, I always get like that floral perfume smell. That clean
Hmm.
floral smell is what I'll get for the older women usually. But then for food, like for whatever reason, I do smell muffins all the time. Like if there's somebody who used to
Hmm.
bake, I'll smell like blueberry muffins is like a big one for me. But I don't get a whole lot of other smells as far as foods go besides
Hmm.
muffins and then like actual like cologne and like you said, cigarettes, some of those main ones, but I don't get that one a whole lot either. It's kind of like hit or miss with that one. It's usually they're still going to use my clairvoyance and show me something more than they are going to make me smell it. So
Yeah.
same for me. Clairaudience, so clear hearing.
Mm. Hearing for me, it's not like actually physically hearing it. It's kind of like in my mind, I can hear them saying something, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like sometimes they'll shout at me, and sometimes they'll even be shouting at the sitter. They'll be telling the sitter to stop doing something or to make sure that they're doing something, and they'll be yelling at
Yes.
me in my head, and I can hear their voice, and I have to tell the sitter they're getting on you for this. Like,
Yes.
it's so
Yes,
funny
that's
how that
exactly
works.
right. And I've talked about that a lot in my lives. And I don't know if you kind of explain that, but I always because a lot of people in my lives, when I'm doing a reading, their spirit will be saying that they're talking to them and that they
Hmm.
do hear them. But people don't think. I always thought too before I started this that clear audience and clear hearing meant that you would physically hear somebody
Mm.
saying something to you. And that's
That's what I
not
thought at first too. It's
right.
not like that.
And I was like, I'm not, nobody's saying anything. I don't hear a voice. I will
Yeah.
tell you once when I was here, when I first, well, maybe I'd been doing it about a year and like I had really first started getting into doing readings. I heard a lady singing back
Mm.
here in my office, like very clearly, like just like humming, but like super loud. And I was like, what the hell? So you can physically hear stuff as well sometimes, but that's
Yeah.
a lot. That's probably like 10% of the time, where
Yeah.
90% of the time, like you said, we're going to hear it, but it's going to be in our own voice, in our own head, but we know that it's not us. And that's why I try to
Yeah.
explain to people in the lives is that your loved ones are giving you messages every single day. They're reminding you to do stuff, they're guiding you to do stuff, but a lot of times we just think it's our own mind telling us and reminding us but I'm like, if you were thinking about something completely different and then something pops into your head, that's usually not going to be you. That's going to be a loved one trying to give you a message, especially if it
Yeah.
makes no sense with what you were just thinking about. And
Yeah.
so
That's
for
how my
me,
loved ones talk to me too, is through that. They put their voice in my head and will talk to me
yes,
that way.
exactly, exactly. And that's like, I try to explain that because I tell people a lot of us are clairaudient, but we just don't know it and we don't
Mm.
understand it and how it works. So I try to explain that to people because I will have, spirit tell me like, oh, I'm talking to them every single day. They just don't understand it. They think that they're like reaching and just imagining it when they're not.
Yeah.
So that's a big one I think a lot of us have opened, but people don't understand it and don't really know when they're getting these messages that it actually is their loved ones. When they're sitting there and saying every single day, I just want a message. I just want a message. They're giving it to you. You're just not understanding how it's coming in. So I try to explain
Yeah.
that all the time. So I think that's a big one for people to understand, that you're not going to physically hear your grandpa talking to you next to your head. That's just not how it is. But of course, I was the same way. That's how I thought it was, and I was like, why that doesn't work for me. But that's totally not at all how it works. So that's a big one.
No, yeah, that one is the one that actually developed for me the most. Now that I'm thinking about it, it developed for me the most before I got into mediumship because mine was triggered at 5.
Yes.
So growing up, that is the one that would always come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think like, oh, I'm crazy, I'm making it up, like there's no way. And I would tell my mom about it. And she would just be like, you're probably making it up. Like, you know what I mean? It's probably in your head. And now I'm looking back, I was like, I was not crazy. I was not making that up in my head.
Yep, exactly. But that's literally what you would think. Like
Hmm.
if you don't know what it is and like what to look for and to listen to, we know now how it
Hmm.
works and like when spirit's letting us know something, because it won't make sense with what we're thinking at the time. It's so
Yeah.
random, like a random lyric or a random song getting stuck in your head. It's not coincidence. And most people be like, oh, I don't remember hearing that, but it's in my head now. Well, that's because your loved one's trying to like get your attention, but most people have no clue that that's how it works. So it's really good, I feel like, for us to come on here and explain that, so people will understand that you are getting messages way more than you think. You just don't realize that this is how it's actually happening, and that it really is a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I actually had a spirit yell at me in that Claire this past weekend.
Really.
Well, that goes with my Ghostbuster stories from this past weekend. But yeah,
Yes.
she yelled at me in my head. So
let's
that's
let's go into that, because I think that's pretty much it. I mean, those are all the main ones. Besides clear cognizance, we can go over that one really quick, which is the clear
mm,
knowing.
knowing.
So how do you know that when you're getting a clear knowing from the other side?
So the way that I like to explain it is if you have an iPhone, you're gonna know what this is. I explain it, it's like an airdrop to me. Like when you airdrop a picture to somebody, it's like that. So it's just kind of like, except for a picture, it's like knowledge. It's just like you know something. You know what I mean? It's just like, boop, I know this. And it's just so like very quick, very easy to miss, but it comes in very clear for me and very
Yes,
strong. Like, I know this. Like, I don't know how I know. Like, I just know. They're giving me this knowing of, I know this about them. It's, again,
exactly.
it's so easy to dismiss, though.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Or for me, it's also easy to second guess it if you're not
Hmm.
careful, because like that's something that I will notice, like whenever I have a sitter where they talk about how once they passed, the family fell apart. I'll just have an automatic knowing that like things aren't going okay anymore. And I'll ask, like, are y'all still getting together like as a family? And they're like, no, like we don't talk anymore. And I was like, I got that. Like I literally got that she talks about that when she passed, everything fell apart and nobody does dinner anymore. We don't get together for celebrations. Like there's some friction. And they'll usually tell me like it's two people in particular that are causing problems or something like that. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, but it's like how do we know that? You know, that they're literally giving us the information from the other side, that you're right. When it comes in, I will still ask, because it's hard to be like, so now that grandma's gone, like nobody talks anymore. It's just, you got to be careful with the way you say things, because it is usually, it can be triggering for them. And it can be, some of them are still grieving, and it's already hard enough to be going through this without your family now. And the family's fighting over different things, a house, furniture, jewelry, whatever it is. And so it's hard to bring up stuff like that. Even though we get that clear knowing, we have to be very careful with the way that we approach it, so
Yeah.
that they understand that like we're not trying to like bring anything negative up. They're just literally telling us what happened, and we're just
Yeah.
confirming it with them and telling them, because 9 times out of 10 the whole reason that they bring that up is for us to know that things are going to be okay. Like, just give it some time. Everything's going to cool off. People will get over this, and they won't hang on to it forever. Just kind of hang in there.
Mhm.
And I always try to give them, because I will see like a positive ending. The
Yeah.
psychic stuff kicks in, and I'm like, things are going to be okay. Just give it some time. Don't, force anybody to come hang out. Just give it some time. Let everybody cool off. and y'all will be okay in the future, you know? But it is
Yeah.
random how we just know these things without knowing anything about these people, you know,
Yeah,
or
it
anything
is.
about the spirit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's why I always say to my sitter, like, you know your loved ones better than I do. I don't know them, so I just need your help with, connecting those dots, how
Right.
you understand this, because again, it goes back to the whole jelly bean thing. I have no idea why I'm getting this, but here you
Yes.
go. And then the sitter's like, oh my God, yes, I completely understand. And then you're sitting there like, thank goodness, because I had no idea what that was. Like, yeah, I'm just giving it over to you.
Literally. And I'm so notorious for being like, okay, random. I say that all the time. Okay, random. I'm getting this. And they're like, oh no, that makes sense. Like yesterday, I literally had a lady, I was her grandma that I was reading for, and she showed me, and I'd never gotten anything like this before, but she showed me being stuck in a sleeping bag. Like being in a sleeping bag, I could hear the zipper. So here's the clear audience part. I could hear the zipper being zipped up around me, and then I felt clear sentience, the panic of being stuck. But and then here's, oh, we didn't talk about this, but there's also clear tangency, which is clear feeling of like actually feeling items. I could
Mhm.
feel the way the material felt around me, and I could hear it, you know, that it was
Mhm.
like that sleeping bag material. And she was like, I don't remember ever sleeping in a sleeping bag. I said, there's something about like a sleeping bag and you being stuck in there. And she was like, oh my God. She was like, yes. She was like, I stayed at my grandma's one time and a bunch of cousins were over there and they zipped me up in the bag and started throwing her around the room, like playing with her, you know, like it was a
Oh
joke,
my
but she
God.
had forgotten about it. And when I brought it up, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so like triggering probably and like traumatic. I was like, I'm probably like bringing up PTSD stuff for you. But I was like, she is like literally is like so sorry because she said she came in and had to get her out of there. And she goes, yeah, she did. And I said, but she felt so bad for like not being there to like protect you from that. And she's literally bringing it up because she's like, obviously, there's no way I would know this. So it was like a very good validation to bring up. But she was like, I completely forgot about that. She's like, I was like, I don't remember ever being in a sleeping bag over there. And she goes, but I do remember one time when we had a huge family get together, they put all the kids in the living room, gave us sleeping bags, and they ended up, yeah, putting her in a sleeping bag and zipping her up and like messing with her and like pulling her around the room or whatever. And she goes, yeah, she goes, I did panic because I thought I couldn't breathe, you know?
Yeah.
So it's so random that, you know, with that, just that one experience, there was clairtangency, clear audience, clear sentience. It all like came in like like you said,
Mhm.
all together at once, and
Mhm.
that was wild. So yeah, so that's another one. Do you ever have anything with the clear tangency where you actually feel something?
Yeah, I'll feel things physically too. Like one time I was in a reading and I can feel someone poking me in the back. And I was like, I feel like this is a sign for you. Like likes to poke you in the back, like just right now. I was like, yes. And then that person felt it at the same time that I did.
Yep, yep,
And it was just like crazy like that. It was just like that, like those touches. And then
yes,
two, when they had issues breathing prior to their passing, they'll give me the shallow breath. They'll give
yes,
me like, the pain to my head. Like they'll give
yep,
me like that feeling. And it's just so crazy how that works. That is another one that I like to use too.
yes.
The feeling.
The
Mm-hmm.
feeling, and one that I get a lot is when they show me blankets, like handmade blankets that have been made from like a grandma or a mom that were passed down because I can feel the texture of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'll know if this is just like a regular like faux fur blanket or if this is like a crocheted blanket because I can touch it and I can feel the difference in like the material of the blanket. So I can actually describe what type of blanket is being handed down. So that's another one where I actually feel. And then one that you made me think of when you said somebody poking you in the back is I had one guy, it was a boyfriend of somebody that I read for. And when they were younger and they were together, he would always come up behind her and pop her bra. And so he
Oh.
physically came up behind me and was like grabbing my bra. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, just tell her this is what I used to do. And then he kept popping my bra. And I was like, could you stop? Like, what are you doing? You know, because I was like, that is so random. But he just kept laughing. And so I told her, I was like, I don't even know if I should bring this up or not. I said, but there's something about him like popping your bra. Like, do you ever feel that? And she was like, oh my God. She was like, he did that all the time. And it was so annoying. I was like, you have no idea. Like, he will not stop doing that until I mentioned it. Cause I kept talking about, like, I was like, this is so random. Like, if I mention this and it doesn't make sense, that's going to be super
Mm-hmm.
weird, you know? And we tend
Yeah.
to get like that where we're like, should we bring this up or not? But I try to give
Yeah.
everything that I get. It was just very random. And I had never felt that before, but I could literally feel it like the way it feels when somebody snaps your bra against your back. You know, it was the
Mm-hmm.
wildest thing. So we definitely get weird stuff when it comes to like the feeling aspect of it. But mostly for me, it's me actually touching, like them giving me the actual blanket and making me touch it, so I have an idea. Or like a jacket. Okay, I can feel like it's denim, or I can
Mm-hmm.
feel the leather. You know what I mean? So that's how it comes into me whenever I get like the Claire what is that, Claire tangency. We have gone through all of the Claires, and y'all be sure to let us know if y'all have any questions about those once y'all have a chance to listen to the podcast. But we're going to go into Alyssa's Ghostbuster story of the week.
So this past weekend, I was at my grandma's house, just about 45 minutes from me. My mom went, I went, my Nino and his wife went, and my aunt went. And we're sitting there and we're just talking because obviously they know what I do. So we were just talking about stuff like that, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, the other day the door slammed in your uncle's room." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "And it was so loud, it was so loud." And I was like, "Okay." So I went to my uncle's room and I immediately felt a man standing there. And I was kind of like, okay. And then my mom ended up coming in with me. And she's terrified of this stuff. So I'm really surprised she went in the room.
She's like,
So
I'll be outside.
yeah, and she had a big old amethyst crystal in her hand too. It was so funny. But yeah, so he's standing there, and I'm kind of like, okay, and I'm getting the feeling. Okay, I feel like this is someone who is close to my grandpa who passed away and his son, which is my uncle. I feel like it was a friend of theirs. And my mom's standing there and she's yelling at him. She's yelling at him for slamming this door. And I can literally like see him in my head standing there next to me, and he's kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, she likes the door closed. Like, I just wanted to close it. Like, I did it too hard. And I'm just standing there laughing. I told my
Oh
mom,
my
and she told me to
gosh.
stop. She's like, oh, okay, but be careful next time.
Over here scolding the spirits.
Yeah, so then we left, we walked back out, went to my grandma, and we told her, and I told her what I felt. I felt like this is a man that was a friend of, like, my grandpa, her husband, and his son. And she was like, oh my God. She's like, I completely forgot. And I was like, what? She's like, well, the ashes of their friend Dave, your uncle actually keeps them in his room. They were very, very close to him. Your grandpa and him were very, very close to him. So it's Dave that was in there. And I was like,
That's so
really?
wild.
You didn't think that this could be a thing before I went in there?
She's like, and anyways, here's these ashes.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. So then obviously that started off the topic. So my aunt, which is my grandfather, my mom's dad's sister, was there. And she was talking about these experiences people were having at her house. And so I said, hey, like, I can go over to your house. It's 5 minutes away. We can go over there real quick. I can go check it out. And she's like, okay, cool. So we all go over to her house. I walk in. I'm kind of like, all right, all right. So I walk in the front door. Immediately to the left is a living room and a dining room. And then it's the kitchen. And you keep walking straight. You walk into the main living room. And then immediately to the right when you walk into the living room, is this long hallway. The moment I step right to the side of this hallway, where if I look to the right, I can see all the way down, I immediately had labored breathing. And I had
Mm.
to put my hand on the couch, and I was just like, okay, okay, okay. And I could immediately feel energy down this hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So then I look and I start to slowly walk down this hallway. And as soon as I start to walk down this hallway, I hear, get the F out. This is
Oh
not your
no.
house. This is my house. Get the F out. And I'm like, a little hostile there, huh? And it was a woman. And I'm kind of like,
Oh.
all right. So then I walk back and I'm kind of sitting there and I'm just kind of looking like down and like, my mom and my aunt are talking. I'm just kind of like puzzled a little bit like, huh. Okay. And my mom's like, what happened? What happened? I could see it on your face. What happened? So I told them, and my aunt was like, oh, like that's the spare bedroom is down there. That's where like, the activity keeps happening. And I was like, okay. And she's like, do you want to go to the spare bedroom? And I was like, sure, let's go. She doesn't like me.
Not really.
All right. And so then we walk into the room. Before that, sorry, I have to go back. I'm a horrible storyteller. But
You're
before that, I was telling her,
fine.
like, there's something about being thrifted, like there's something you thrifted that doesn't
Oh,
have like, it feels like to me the best energy, honestly.
right.
Something that you thrifted. And she's like, okay. So, back to where we were. We're walking down the hall. We go into the spare bedroom, and I was like, that one. And I pointed at a doll. And I could just feel the energy coming
Ooh,
off of this doll. It, like, oh my gosh, she did not like me in there. She did not want me in there in the slightest. She did not like it.
it was her
And
space.
yes, it was her. She was very territorial
Yep.
over her space. So, we walk back out, and I tell my aunt, it's that doll. And she's like, really? She's like, my grandson comes over here, and he's always talking about that doll is bad, that doll is bad.
Yep.
And my daughter was attacked, and she said that a woman attacked her in her dreams in this house.
Ew.
And I was like, yep, it's a woman. Like, I don't know. She's like, but it never attacks me. Like, I never feel anything, but she does have activity in her house, but nothing ever really attacks her or does anything crazy or anything like that.
Right.
They just threw her curling iron on the floor one time and just all this stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, I wasn't even scared. And I was just like, well, I would be scared.
For
This is what I do
real.
for a living.
And
But yeah.
so what did like the doll is still there? Did they
The
not want to
doll is
get
still there. I asked my grandma, she said the doll is still there. I don't know if the doll likes her or not because I guess she's had it for a while and she always took really good care of it. She loves her dolls and stuff.
Oh, so
So
she
I'm
doesn't
like,
want to get rid of it then.
I don't think she wants to, but at the same time, I'm like, you need to, you need to do something with this doll here because
Yes. Because that reminds me of the whole Annabelle situation. You know what I mean? Where
literally.
where it would be fine to the people that treated it okay. You know what I mean? But then
Mm-hmm.
it still always ended up bringing something else with it at the end. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm like, I would be scared to have something like that in the house that just radiated like
Yeah.
negative energy. You know what I
She
mean?
tried giving it to me. I was like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You're like,
Nope.
this is a you problem. You're gonna have to take care of that yourself. But
First off, my fiance would kill me.
yeah, exactly.
No.
And you would never sleep again. You would always be worried about like what this, yeah, I
Yeah.
would not be able to have anything like that in the house. And that's honestly, it's funny that you bring that up because I like to go, like my mom and grandma love thrift stores. My mom has so like she lives in a very it's like a historical marker house, but all of her stuff is like very old, like antique stuff from like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, all of her like furniture. It's very, very old school in there. But to me, I'm like, I would never want anything like that because, it does hang on to energy and it
Mm-hmm.
does, depending on whoever's had it or where it's been. I'm like, no, thank you. So
Picks
like if
up
we
on the
ever
energy.
go to like a thrift store or something like that, like I don't like, and I'm not trying to be bougie and be like, all I want is new stuff, but I don't like getting used stuff because you just don't know where it's
Yeah.
been and what kind of energy it's taken on wherever it's been. So that's why I
Yeah.
don't like to get stuff like that. Just because number one, I can feel it. Like I don't even like walking into a thrift store because I feel like there's so much like energy happening in there. I don't know if you feel
Mm-hmm.
like that when you go in, but I'm like
Yeah.
it's almost overwhelming. Um, but that's also like how it is like when I walk in a church. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it's the same feeling of just so much like residual energy being in there.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like doing the thrift stuff. I'm like if somebody tries to give me something that's from I'm like I need to know where this came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I've always kind of naturally had that for some reason. I think my whole
yes.
life with seeing spirits growing up. I've always been able to naturally pick up on those things as something is attached to an item for some reason.
Right.
I don't know why. Like when anyone brings anything to me, like they won't even tell me anything. It'll just be there and I'm like, it's that. That's the energy I'm feeling. Get rid of that immediately.
Yep.
And like one time my mom brought it was beautiful. It really was beautiful. It's like this giant thing that you can put those big candles in that you usually put on the floor.
Oh
It was
yeah, like the
white
big
and
candelabras
it
or
has like the
something.
big door. Yeah, it has like the big door. She brought that home, and I immediately went, "Where'd you get that? It needs to go. It needs to go." Like it was beautiful though. It was so beautiful. And she was like, "I'm not getting rid of it, Mom. There's energy attached to it. You need to get rid of it." I was like, "Where did you get that?" Turns out it came from our very, very, very haunted ranch that was in the middle of
Oh
nowhere.
yeah. You're like, nope, I'm already picking up
No,
on that's gonna be a hell no for me.
immediately.
Yep. So did
No.
she get rid of it?
She ended up getting rid of it. She gave it to my grandma.
not the grandma. They're like, you can have this. Thank you.
Yeah, same thing with my grandma. She had a doll about a month or two ago, and I immediately felt it. I was like, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And she's like, really? I love that doll. She's like, I just got it. I was like, get rid of it. So she got rid of it.
So they're just bringing all kinds of random stuff into the house. That's my
Yeah.
mom, but she's also like I am. She's not scared of stuff. She's always. I mean, we both were in that haunted house for so long that I feel like now it's kind of like, but yeah, she's like whatever. Like she just gets all kinds of random stuff. She loves going thrift shopping, and I'm like, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like if you want to do that, go ahead. But I'm like, that's just not me. I'm not comfortable with it. I can feel too much. You know, like you said, you can feel the energy off of stuff, and I'm like, I don't want
Yes.
stuff like that in my house. You know,
Yeah.
so it's so
No, and the
interesting.
energy with what we do, we're very sensitive to energies like that. Like with the what you said, like walking into a church, like I would
Yes.
walk into some shops sometimes and all of the energy, I would literally feel like I was gonna faint because
Yes.
of all the energies.
Yes.
And the moment I walk out, it's like nothing even happened. It's so
Yes.
weird.
That
So
was
weird.
whenever we went to New Orleans this past year and I was just like dead
We're
set
supposed
on
to go
going.
in March.
I know. Yeah. Well, let me know what you feel. We went into Marie Laveau's shop because I was
Mhm.
dead set that I had to go in there and I got the worst pounding headache the minute that I walked in there. And of
Mm.
course they've got a lot of voodoo stuff in there. They've got a lot of, weird trinkets, knickknacks, and so we're walking around, but I immediately just like felt heavy like when I went in there. And then like by the
Oh
time we got
yeah.
around to the other side, I told Colin, I was like, I have to get out of here. Like my head is starting to hurt so bad. And like I don't like it. I don't like the energy in here. I have to get out. And the minute I walked outside and like got some fresh air, completely fine. I just had
Like
to get
nothing
out
happened.
of
Yeah.
that space,
Yeah.
And so yeah, we definitely, and even though, I constantly put up my barriers and keep my barriers around me, sometimes if it's really, really strong, you're still gonna get that feeling from it, and I definitely
Mm.
did. And the rest of it I loved. I mean, New Orleans was amazing. The vibe is definitely weird there for somebody like
Mm.
us, but it was fun. Like I've always wanted to go. I would still love to go again whenever it's nicer. It was like in the 40s when we were walking around out there, so it was
Oh wow.
freezing cold. I mean, it was literally the week before Christmas, so it was really really cold there. It was windy, so we didn't get to do a whole lot there like I wanted to because I wanted to do like the haunted tours. I wanted to do all the things, so I still want to
Yeah.
go back and do that again. But yeah, there were certain places there that definitely gave off some icky energy, if that makes sense. I was like, I don't like
Yeah.
it. I got to get out of here, But we went in all different kinds of shops, and some of them were just like so energetic, like walking in, I felt like I was like ready to go, like I had just taken an energy drink or something. And I don't even take
Mhm.
stuff like that, but I wanted to like immediately just start running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the energy's so wild there, but it's definitely interesting. You'll have fun when you go, but let me know if you go in there and see what you feel because it was definitely, I kind of expected it to be honest, but not as strong as it hit me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll be making TikToks about it probably, but
Hell
my
yeah. I
mom's
can't wait.
like, my mom's like, Alyssa, you better go over there with all your protection up.
Oh,
Like all
yes.
of your protection up. And I'm like thinking in my head, okay, mom, yeah, sure, okay. And then you said that I'm like, I'll make sure my protection's
Yeah. No, really. Because like I always, and I was very, very like, sure, like while I was traveling, I always make sure that my barriers are even stronger. Like, and I put, protection over wherever we stay. Because of course we were staying in a different hotel almost every single night for a week on the way up there,
Mhm.
So yeah, so everything else was fine, but like there was a couple of places there where I could just definitely feel like stuff was off, if that makes sense. Like it just did not feel right. I was not comfortable with it, but I would still go again because I just didn't get to do all the things that I really wanted to do. We were kind of just there for like 2 days and it was quick. So, but it's definitely just like Salem, somewhere else I want to go, and I know
I
that
want to
it's
go.
probably going to be not the best for us, people like us, but I want to go so bad. Like we definitely have to schedule that because I know that that would be so fun and there'd be so much that we could do there. But I know
Mhm.
that it would definitely be somewhere where we would have to like really, really keep a focus on like making sure that like we're protected at all times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
for sure. Especially yeah, with the history and everything that's
Yep.
happened, it'd be beautiful. But again, with all the protection up and everything like that, it's crazy, especially in walking to a new space. Like everything that we feel when
Yes.
we get into this because people, that's probably what people look at us like we're crazy, honestly, because I'm already preparing mentally in my head, okay, I'm going to take these crystals, I'm going to take this sage, okay, I'm going
Yep.
to take that, okay, I need to take this, okay, and then what about that, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I already know my fiance is going to look at me and be like, you're freaking crazy, what are you doing? But like to us, we're so sensitive to it. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Whereas people
Yep.
who aren't into this aren't sensitive to those kind of things.
They wouldn't even
Where,
think about it twice. But for
yeah.
us, where people are thinking about like what they're going to wear, we're like, okay, what crystals do we need? What, like we're
Uh-huh.
thinking about things that nobody else is going to think about. But, for us, it works. We know what to do. We know how to keep ourselves protected. But it's definitely wild how like certain places can really hold different types of energy. And I'll notice that too. But it's even like being around certain people, like you
Hmm.
can also be around certain people that will immediately give me a headache, or make
Yes.
me nauseous, and that's
Yeah.
another thing is like whenever I go out, even if I'm just going to the grocery store, like it's important to protect our energy because we are huge empaths. So like I don't want
Hmm.
anybody feeding off of me or so it's always like I don't think people realize how much goes into it just in our everyday life with
Mm.
just going out and having to make sure that we are not, so open that we're getting constant messages. People always ask, well, whenever you're out, do you get messages? And I'm like, no, not normally because I keep my boundaries up at all times. Like it's only whenever I'm reading do I allow, and spirit's still super respectful for me. They'll stand in
Hmm.
line and for a spirit
Hmm.
led, or they won't let anybody else step in if I'm focusing on one person, like I have to invite them in. And so, and I know for some people though, if they don't know how to keep those boundaries up, then they're bombarded all the time and
Yeah.
messaging me, I don't know how to shut this down. And I'm like, well, that's why you don't jump into something if you don't know what you're doing. Like you have to learn how to protect yourself first and know exactly what you're doing before you open yourself up. Because if you don't know how to shut it down easily, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, for us, we know now like how to do that and like what to do around certain people, things of that nature. But yeah, like it's wild how we can pick up on just somebody's energy just from being next to them. And
Yeah.
before, I never really paid attention. I'd be like, I don't know why, whenever I go to a birthday party or I go to do this or that, like I come home feeling sick, like I don't understand. Like, I just always feel like I thought I was just like overdoing it. Come to find out, it's just picking up on everybody else's energy is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I
people
can't
have
even
to
do crowds anymore. I can't.
exactly,
Like crowds, I can't. I really, really
exactly.
can't anymore.
It's
Used to be able
overwhelming.
to. It's too much now. I just get irritated. I'm just like,
Yep.
I need to get out of here. Like, I
Yeah.
need to be in my own space. Like, I
Yep.
need no one around me. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I used to be somebody that loved to be out,
Me too.
out at the
Hmm.
bar, out at the clubs, out doing this whenever
Hmm.
I was younger, but it's because I wasn't so open like I am now. And once you
Hmm.
are, like it's hard not to feel that energy even if you are, putting up our boundaries and stuff. It can still get overwhelming depending on how many people are around. I'm
Hmm.
all about the smaller gatherings, not the larger gatherings. Makes
Yes.
sense because it literally will physically make me ill if there's too much energy going on.
You know, like that song here. Wait, what's her name? Alicia Kira Carr here.
Oh, yes, yes.
That's
Okay,
like my
yes,
theme song now.
yes. Yep,
Literally.
literally. And it's wild because, if somebody else doesn't have like the same or is just open like we are, they won't
Hmm.
understand it. But I feel like a lot of people are also going through that when people are empaths and they don't know that they are.
Hmm.
And they're always like, I'm constantly having headaches. I'm constantly having this. I'm constantly sick to my stomach. And I'm like, that's because you're picking up on everybody else's energy, you know?
Yeah.
And, so I have to try to like tell some of my friends that are like that as well, like how to like put up your protective boundaries. Don't let people like feed off of you. There's energy vampires that will take all of your energy if you let them. So
Hmm.
it's very, very, it's very interesting after doing this for a couple years, 5 years, however long it's been now, how wild it is and how much of everything that we do day to day is just energy based. Everything's
Oh
energy,
yeah.
everything's, so it vibrations, it's just wild how it works.
It is. It's really wild. And my mom would explain it to me as a kid because I would come to her and I would be like, Mom, like, I don't know why I'm seeing these things. I don't know why I'm feeling these things. Like, why? Like, I didn't understand. Why? Why?
Right.
Why? Why? And she would tell me, she's like, well, it's just something you naturally have, something that runs in the family. It's okay. But she would be like, think of yourself as like this beautiful white light in a very dark. She's like, you're that light. She's like, the spirits are naturally drawn to you because you're this
Right.
light in darkness, and they're gonna be like, hey, like, what's that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's
Exactly.
go check that out.
Hey, she can see me.
Yeah. So that's how she kind of explained it to me, like as I was growing up and
I
didn't
love that.
understand what was going on.
Right. And same thing with me, except my mom was just like, no, not a thing. That's not happening. Like she just kept making me think that I was crazy the whole time. And I was like, okay. And so I thought I was like literally like making stuff up because I watched too many scary movies. So I was like, I
Mm,
just watched two scary movies. Like it is my imagination. I didn't really see that. I'm not hearing this. But some of the
yeah.
stuff, like when my brother or sister would hear it, I was like, you heard that too? You know, because I thought it was just
Mm,
me. And like I said, I told you about the story where my brother would be like, he was so scared to sleep in that back room that he would literally bring us like blankets and just lay on the floor in my room. And my mom would
mm.
be like, what are you doing? And he'd be like, oh, like it got too cold back there. Like he'd always make up an excuse because he didn't want to sound like a big baby, but he was like, there's something in that room. I'm like, oh, I know. Like I won't sleep in that room either, you know? But it
Oh
was
yeah.
wild because there was always stuff happening. But like I said, for the longest time, I just thought I was going crazy or I was just imagining stuff because my mom was like, nope, I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. You're probably just, because you watched that scary movie. Now you're like, you're just, making stuff up. And I'd be like, okay, so forever I really thought that I was just making stuff up. And the whole time it was
Yeah.
actually happening.
Yeah. No, I remember growing up, we moved into this house. I want to say I was maybe 7 or 8, somewhere around there. We moved to this house, and there was 2 rooms. There was a 3 bedroom. My mom obviously had the master bedroom, and there's 2 bedrooms down the hall. They were right next to each other. My mom looked at me, and she's like, "Which one do you want?" They're the same exact size, literally the same, just flipped. And I looked into the right room, and I was like, "Nope, I feel something in there. I'm going with this one." So I went with the one on the left. And that room ended up, everyone who stayed in that room, which would be my aunt and my brother, something would happen to them in that room. Like something would happen every time. Like so that's how I was like, see, I made the good choice. Like that I nope, not having that room. Not
Nope. You're like, I'm not doing it. Y'all have fun in there. I'll be in my room where it's
yeah, and
safe.
I had to be 7. Like, you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
be able to already feel that. No,
See?
there's an energy in that room. I'm not picking that room. I'm going with this one.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, I was also 7 whenever we moved into that house that was haunted. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing. Like I picked my room. There was 2 rooms that I could pick from, and I picked my room. And then the back one was just a spare bedroom until my sister moved in, whenever she stayed with us for a while. And like I said, but it was like the whole back of the house had like weird energy. Like I said, even in my room, stuff would have happened, but it just wasn't as significant as what was happening in the back bedroom. And then stuff would also, like I said, when I told you about stuff dropping in the bathroom all the time, even though I would hear it and I'd go back to the master bathroom where my parents were, and everybody would be gone, everybody was at work, and I would go back there and I would hear like soap or a shampoo bottle being dropped really loud. Go back there, nothing would be there, and I'd walk out of the room and it would happen again. I'd go back in there, nothing. Leave the room, it would happen again. So it was just like constantly messing with me. And so finally I was just like, forget it. Like I know that there's not going to be anything there. So I would just, go back to the front of the house. But I told you how I was so scared that I would leave the front door open, even though my mom would be like, close the door and lock it. And I'm like, hell no. Like I'm not locking myself in here with whatever the hell's back here because it's going to get me. I'm more scared of this than like some stranger coming to get me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for a long time, like that house terrified me as a kid. And I think that is why I shut it down for a long time. But it's also weird because like as I got older, and you're not going to know this because you're younger, but back in the day, like in the early 2000s when I would be going out to like clubs and stuff, and we had the old school cameras, like we didn't even have phones that you could take pictures on yet,
Oh
but
yeah,
we
we
had
had the
like the old school
develop
cameras
one,
that you'd
yeah.
have to like go get it developed.
Developed. Yeah.
Every time that I would take a picture, there would be orbs on me.
Oh wow.
And I would get so mad. And I remember taking it to them and being like, what's wrong with y'all's machine? Because
Yeah.
every single picture that would be taken, there'd be 2 or 3 orbs. They were either on my face or they'd be like on my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Always. But all of my friends that would be in the picture, there could be 2 or 3 other people, nothing. And so I would be like, what? Like, can you redo this and get me a good picture? Because I just wanted to frame the picture and put it in my house, but it looked dumb because I would literally have shit on my face or on my body, like bright
Yeah.
white orbs. Some would be big, some would be small, but there was always orbs. I mean, I can't even. I need to go back and look through and find some of those pictures, and I'll send them to you because I used to get pissed. And I remember arguing with some guy, and he was like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, if it's gonna look the same way regardless. I'm like, no, it's your machine because every single picture. But he'd be like, well, why is it always just on you? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, fix it. You know what I mean? Like, it was the weirdest thing, girl. But forever, all through like my 20s, pictures constantly having orbs on them. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I never knew, I didn't even know what orbs were. I was like,
Yeah.
I just thought it was some type of camera malfunction until I started getting into it. And then, of course, I started watching Ghost Adventures and all the paranormal stuff. And I was like, always drawn to that. And where people would be like, I can't watch stuff like that. It scares me. I'm like, no, it's awesome. Like, I love watching paranormal stuff. Scary
Yeah.
movies don't scare me. I am all about like the horror movies, scary stuff, paranormal. Always been drawn to it forever. So
Yeah.
it's so weird.
It is weird. I remember having some pictures when I was young too, and I would have orbs on me too. And then we had a camera on my great grandma when she was on hospice. So she was towards the end of her life. Every single night at the same time, three orbs would show up on like the little nanny cam that we kept on her.
That's
Every
wild.
single night. Three
That's
orbs.
crazy. I love
Same
that
time,
though.
like clockwork, every single night. It was so weird.
Three family members coming to get her. I
I
love
think it
it.
was my grandpa and I think it was her parents.
Yep, there you go.
Hmm.
I was like, definitely got three people coming to get them, and it is wild how, um how our loved ones, whenever they are in hospice or they are like in that last time frame before they pass, tend to already start telling us that they're seeing this or they're seeing that.
Hmm.
And I'll even see that in some of my readings where, like, the other day it was a lady that was passing, but her husband like was showing me that he was standing there with his hand out. And she was like, I was ready to go because he was literally waiting for me. Like, he had his hand out, he was waiting for me. And so I felt comforted and I felt at peace to go ahead and go.
Hmm.
And so when I told her loved one that, I don't remember who I was reading for, they were like, oh my gosh, like that makes me feel so much better because we were just so worried about, like, and of course I know for people here on this side it's scary, for some people
Yeah.
about, like, passing over and the transition and what's happening. But literally I have gotten that several times. Well, they'll show me that friend or family member that's coming to get them, usually, like a parent or a you know, whoever they were married to, a partner. And so I love that when they show me that, because I know it brings them peace here to know that, yeah, my grandpa was actually waiting for her.
Yeah.
I don't see it in every reading, but every once in a while, if that
Yeah.
connection's really strong, I'll see somebody like a mom or a dad that came to get this child when they passed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's very
Exactly.
interesting. I love
It is
that.
interesting. It is interesting. And it's so complex. And that's what I think people don't understand. It's not straightforward. It's not simple. It's very complex. There's always new things we're learning about, and things are
Daily.
always changing, and it's just like new
Yes.
experiences. It's wild.
It really is. And I love that because, like I said yesterday, I was like, okay, I need to start learning some new like signs and symbols. Like, start giving me some new stuff that I've never seen before, like the whole sleeping bag incident. That's something so random that I got, but it made sense and she definitely remembered it. But it was a core memory, for
Hmm.
grandma, because she felt panicked for her and felt bad that that happened, like on her watch. But I
Yeah.
also, for the first time, saw where usually, for whatever reason, it's like the clear knowing of somebody if they were cremated or not.
Yeah.
I don't get like a vision all the time for that, but yesterday when I was doing a spirit led, he literally showed me a hearse. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
like, "Oh." And I was like, "So this person would have not been cremated." And she was like, "No, he wasn't. Like, he wasn't cremated." And I was like, "Well, there's a new one. Like, now I hope that they'll be like, like, I always want those new signs and symbols to make things
Hmm.
just a little bit easier for me to decipher when I'm doing a reading." So I love whenever spirit's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, let me give you something new."
Yeah.
Like
That's
Tyler
what they
Henry
did for me
has.
yesterday.
Oh yeah, you got one too?
A new one. They showed me their ashes being spread in the ocean.
Oh,
And I
I
was
love
like,
that.
what? And I asked, my sitter, and I was like, do you understand? Was he cremated? And she said, yes, he was cremated. I said, do you understand putting his ashes in the ocean? And she said that yes, her and her brother actually took a trip to the ocean just to go spread his ashes in the ocean.
I love that. See, and I love that. Like, I'm all about getting those new signs and symbols because I feel like, like you said, we're learning every single day. But I felt
Mm-hmm.
like there for a while, I was just getting a lot of the same things, even though I knew it resonated with people and it would come in differently for each person. I was like, I want to see some new stuff. Like, give me some new validation, some new clairvoyant images.
Like,
Um,
let's learn something new. Let's go.
Exactly. It literally, I was like, okay, I feel like I've just been doing like the same thing. I was like, let's go ahead and like level up today. So I was so excited when I got that yesterday. I mean, those are two things that like I've never seen before. But
Hmm.
I love when they like tend to give me the new things that I can kind of add to that data bank of information for somebody
Yeah.
else to pull from. So
Hmm.
it's wild. It's so interesting.
It is wild. It's crazy. I love every second of it.
I do too. It's so fun. It really is. And I just love, like, you know, um having our community number one and getting to go watch other people, because I feel like that helps me learn too, because I'm like, oh, that's interesting, like I've never gotten anything like that before, like I need to like think about adding that to my data bank so that way they can pull from that, because even though maybe I don't eat this, somebody else might. So I try to like, add those things and be like, you can still use this even though I'm not like actually eating it. Like I'm trying to keep it burned into my mind so they can still pull from things that make sense.
Mhm. Yeah,
I love
no,
it.
it makes sense. I love it.
Me too. It's super interesting.
It is interesting. And it's just a wild, crazy ride that we're on. And we're
Roller
just
coaster
learning as we
daily.
go. That's actually one in my reference break is the roller coaster.
Really?
They
I
show me
love
the
that.
roller coaster when the life tends to be up and down, and always waiting for the
Oh,
shoe to drop.
yeah.
That
That's
is
a good
when they show me
one.
the roller coaster.
I love that. See, that's a good one. I only ever see like carousels when it comes to like fair things or like
Hmm.
carnivals or something. I get a carousel every time for whatever reason. So I'm like, show me something else. What else is you know what I mean? But it always makes sense for that particular person. Like they will show me whenever there was like pictures next to that or like
Yeah,
video of them being there. So I know it always
yeah.
makes sense, but I'm like, I'm just ready for new stuff. Like keep like broadening the horizons, please, because I just want
Mhm.
to always have, a bigger and better reference to pull from, because we do get those people, those sitters where it is a little bit harder to bring stuff forward because maybe we just don't, vibe with them as well because of like their experiences and ours. And so I'm
Yeah.
always like, I want to be able to like broaden my horizon so that way they've got more to pull from. So I feel
Mhm.
like every day I need to be researching something different, learning more about this or that, so that way they've got more to pull from.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, it is a full-time job what we do. It really is. People don't
Literally.
realize we're not just on TikTok, giving readings. There's a lot
Right.
more that goes into all of it. A
Exactly.
lot more.
We have to do our own research. We've got to like make sure that we're staying up on current events and stuff. If they want to bring up current events or, geography, I'm horrible at. So I'm always trying to
Hmm.
like get better and like, touch up on my geography. Cause I always tell people, I don't know where you're at or if this animal's even native to where you are, but they're showing me this, or they'll show me cactus or something. And I'm like, and they're like, no, we don't have any cactus here. And I'm like, okay, well then why are they showing me this? Like, what else do you have? Like, do you have cactus decor? Do you have a cactus shirt? There, you know what I mean? I have to kind of start thinking about that. So we have to figure out ways to like broaden the horizons, but also like narrow stuff down whenever we need to narrow something down that doesn't make sense
Yeah.
at the time. If that, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and then right now, I talk about this too. They make us face our triggers
Oh
head on.
yes,
And that's what they're doing to me right now, is they're making me face triggers. And I'm like, really, really. And it's kind of like, but I've noticed that facing triggers is a lot easier, like being in spirituality. It's not as
yes,
harsh. It really,
right.
really is not harsh. It's, again, a little bit triggering, but it's easy to work through. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, it is. Because we know that they've got our back, that it's only for our
Yeah.
highest good. And we've got to like work through the hard things to get to the better things.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely feel like they push us out of our comfort zone sometimes. And that's okay. Like I'm completely okay with that. I'm here for it. And I think that they know, kind of like what our limits are, but they
Mhm.
also want to push us to be better every single day.
Exactly.
So I'm all about that. We are literally on the roller coaster ride of spirituality on the daily.
Yeah. Literally, it's never ending. It's constantly learning something, growing, and dealing with this and then that. And then have you heard about that? Have you heard about this? It's so
Exactly.
much. I
That's
love it
right. That's right. And guys, just remember we do have our email at two mediums no filter at gmail.com. So if you ever have any questions or anything that you would particularly like us to talk about, something specific, just be sure to let us know. We are also on TikTok live all the time. You can come in there and give us some not advice, but some what am I trying to
questions.
say? Yeah, or options, whatever you want to say, of what you want us to talk about and kind of dive into, because this is definitely more of like an educational platform for everybody to kind of just share our experiences, let you know how we work. We are not the same as every other medium, but this is just how we work, and so we work well together. So we're just definitely trying to like put the information out there. Spread the love, spread the healing, just like we do every single day. But we also want to dive deeper on here as well, so y'all be sure to get a hold of us with any questions. We can definitely, you can email us, you can direct message us on TikTok. Everybody knows kind of how to get a hold of us. So just let us know what y'all want to talk about. So that way we'll have something ready for next week. And we'll definitely be back on here again next week for sure.
Yes, and this is our last podcast of September. the next
Yes.
time you see us, it will be officially October and spooky season
Spooky
and the
season
month of my
incoming.
favorite holiday.
Same, same, same. Yes,
Of
I am ready for it. So ready, guys. So y'all let us know all things spooky that you'd like to hear about, and we would be happy to go into that in depth. Anything, any questions, we're happy to answer, guys. So just no question is too deep. We'd be happy to go into it with you. Just let us know, okay, guys? We are
All
out of
right.
five, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Peace, guys.